Our scripture this morning comes from Mark's Gospel, chapter 2, starting with verse 14. As he walked along, he saw Levi, son of Alphaeus, sitting at the tax collector's booth. "Follow me," Jesus told him, and Levi got up and followed him. While Jesus was having dinner at Levi's house, many tax collectors and sinners were eating with him, and his disciples, for there were many who followed him. When the teachers of the law, who were Pharisees, saw him eating with the sinners and tax collectors, they asked his disciples, "Why does he eat with the tax collectors and sinners?" On hearing this, Jesus said to them, "It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. I have come not to call the righteous, but the sinners." Now John's disciples and the Pharisees were fasting. Some people came and asked Jesus, "How is it that John's disciples and the disciples of the Pharisees are fasting, but yours are not?" Jesus answered, "How can the guests of the bridegroom fast while he is with them? They cannot, so as long as they have him with them. But the time will come when the bridegroom will be taken from them, and on that day they will fast. No one sews a patch of unshrunk cloth on an old garment. If he does, the new piece will pull away from the old, making the tear worse. And no one pours new wine into old wineskins. If he does, the wine will burst the skins, and both the wine and the wineskins will be ruined. No, he pours new wine into new wineskins." This is the word of the Lord. You know, there's a Greek myth, the myth of Sisyphus. Are you familiar with this? The myth of Sisyphus is the story of a man who was doomed to roll a boulder up a hill eternally. And he's always trying to get the boulder to the top of the hill, but as soon as he gets to the top, it rolls back down to the bottom. So he has to go back down to the bottom and roll it back up the hill. And then it goes back down. And he has to roll it, and so he's doing this for eternity. Sisyphus is rolling a boulder up the hill, only to have it roll back down again. Well, in my house, I have my own hill. It's a flight of stairs. And at the top, I have this perpetual boulder that doesn't roll. Well, it does actually roll back down the stairs sometimes. I have 4 children. But at the top of my stairs is my laundry closet. And I have this perpetual problem in my house where I'm constantly doing laundry. And I have to be fair, my husband does a lot of laundry. He does probably more than I do. But it's this idea that we're perpetually working on something only to have it be undone again. It's a story of my life. And sometimes things slip into the laundry that shouldn't slip into the laundry. This little beauty came out of the laundry last week. This is my daughter's. A week ago it fit her. Does anybody need a sweater? You can have it. It's Talbot's. It's really nice. It's wool, as you can probably imagine. It's up for grabs for anyone, a single girl. But this is the story of my life. This is probably what Jesus would call an old garment, pre-shrunk fabric. Jesus, in today's scripture, is doing something new. It's all happening kind of all one after the other, but it starts with the story of Matthew. Now, or Levi. He was Levi before he was Matthew. Levi was at the tax collector's booth, and Levi was not a popular man. I've talked about this a little bit before, but to be a tax collector, it meant that you were a sellout. You were a traitor to your own people. It meant that you were working for the occupation. Israel was under occupation. The Roman government had moved in, and they were in charge of everything, and they were taking taxes from the Jewish people. And because he was a Jew, he was appointed because he knew who was who and who was related to who and who owned what land and who owned what business. And he knew who was paying their fair share of tax and who wasn't. He knew who he could squeeze a little bit harder. So he was working for the enemy. Not only that, tax collectors were often corrupt because they made their living by asking for just a little bit more and skimming a little off the top. to build up their own wealth and coffers. As a result, he was considered unclean by the Jews because he was this traitor to the Romans. He was still a Jew, the people that they were occupying. He was not fully accepted in either community, neither by the Romans or by the Jews. He was an outcast to everyone. He had no community except for the leeches who tagged on to his work, trying to get any benefit from his collections that they could. But Jesus was doing something new. When he looked at Levi, he didn't see a traitor, he didn't see a Jew, he didn't see an outcast. He saw a man full of potential. He wasn't looking for the most religious. He wasn't looking for the ones with a squeaky clean reputation. He wasn't looking for the ones who were already leaders. Jesus was looking for people who were eager to follow. He wasn't looking for the already, he was looking for the yet to be. He saw potential in everyone, and to prove it, he invited Matthew, a tax collector, to join him and to follow him. But then Jesus took it a step further, and he went to Matthew's house for dinner because Jesus said, "Follow me," but then immediately Jesus followed Matthew home. Because Jesus knew that this man that the world had written off, this man who was an outcast to everyone and had community with no one, this man had so much to offer. And he was right. Because as soon as Jesus asked Matthew to follow him, he followed Matthew back home. And Matthew didn't just invite Jesus to the table, he invited all of his friends, the sinners and the tax collectors. Now they had an opportunity to know and follow Jesus. Immediately, Matthew went to work. He wasn't looking for a leader, he was looking for a follower. He saw all the potential in Matthew. Jesus was called out by the religious at the time, the reputable already leaders. Those who were already religious, those who already knew the Word of God, and those who already had a reputation in the community. And they called him out and they said, "Why are you eating with those sinners and tax collectors?" And Jesus is quick and he tells them, "I didn't come for you. I didn't come for those who are already righteous and doing it right. I came to harness the potential in every other person that's here." So this leads us to the teaching on the wineskins. Wineskins at the time were how people carried wine, essentially. Now the thing with wine is that it had to be stored and to be movable in some kind of container. So literally they made bags either out of leather or out of often the bladder of an animal, because they were already waterproof. It was already airtight. It was already able to be stored without leaks. But here's the thing. Grapes and wine naturally have a yeast in their sugar, and so as it ferments, it creates a gas or a bloat. Think about when you have bread rising. It's because the gases in the yeast bloat the bread. Well, this happens in the wineskin, and when you have a fresh animal skin or bladder, it has the ability to still stretch. But eventually it reaches a point where it can't stretch anymore, and hopefully at that point, you've drank enough of the wine that it doesn't matter. But you certainly couldn't put new wine into an old wineskin because there's no more room or no more give for it to expand along with the gases that are in it. And it would burst, and it would ruin the wineskin and the wine. There's no stretch left in an old wineskin. Similar to a piece of fabric, at the time period they had wool available and linen. Both are fabrics that shrink very easily. But when they're woven together, they shrink at the same rate. So they shrink together. But if you needed to put a patch on this, and you put a new piece of fabric on there, it would shrink at a different rate. And eventually it would cause a strain on the stitches or on the fabric itself, and it would burst open. So Jesus, as he's sharing this metaphor with the religious elite, with those already righteous ones, those already leaders, those already religious with a good reputation, he explains to them he didn't come to do the same old thing. He came to do something new because Jesus saw the potential in everyone. Jesus changed the conversation completely. The Pharisees were ready to kind of blast him on his lack of following the law, his lack of doing things properly, and instead he calls them out. And essentially he calls them the old wineskin and the old piece of fabric, and he didn't come for that. He came to do something new because Jesus saw the potential in everyone. And he could have spent time with the religious leaders and tried to do it that way. And he didn't give up on them. He still took the time to teach them and try to explain to them what was going on. But Jesus wasn't looking for the already. He was looking for the yet to be. He came to create leaders. He wasn't looking for people who already had power. He was looking to create servants. He wasn't looking for the educated elite. He was looking for people he could teach. Because Jesus saw the potential in every person. He wasn't trying to recreate an old system. He was putting forth a new one. For me, that's hope. It's hope for every single one of us that Jesus wants us at our least, not our best. When Jesus called Matthew, he called Matthew at his least, not his best. Jesus can work with our worst, not our most. Jesus wants to meet us where we are at, not when you're already there. You know, yesterday was one of those days where people come to church and they kind of hang their head low and say things like, well, the place hasn't started on fire yet, or the rafters haven't fallen on my head yet, because maybe they haven't been to church in a while. It's something that I get often from people on Easter or Christmas or weddings or funerals. That apology of, oh, I haven't been here in a while, but at least it hasn't set on fire. And I understand the joke and I appreciate it, but I also begin to wonder, what is it that makes a person react that way? That they're so afraid to walk into the building, they're afraid that not really afraid, but that it might start on fire. The roof might collapse on them, or they might get struck by lightning. That's another one I hear. It didn't take long yesterday for me to find my answer to my question of what would make a person feel this way. As we were driving to the cemetery, the funeral director and I were having a conversation, as we often do, and we were talking about rules that churches have around funerals. Because a lot of churches have really strict rules around funerals and weddings about what music you can play, and how he was talking about another church in town now, they only allow music that comes out of the hymnal. Or you can only play a CD that the pastor has approved first. And these things make sense, of course. But it made me wonder that it's not that people don't want to be in church, it's that people are afraid of the judgment from the church people. It's not that people don't want to be here and don't have faith, they're afraid of what others might say to them when they come into the building. What if the exact thing that keeps people from following Jesus are in fact the Jesus followers? This is the story of Levi and the Pharisees. Jesus saw potential in everyone, but do we? What if we are less like the tax collectors and more like the Pharisees? What if we have become the old wineskins and the old garments? I do have rules around funerals. The first rule that I have is, will it help the family to grieve well? That is my first question. The second question I have is it church appropriate? Is it going to be offensive in terms of language or content? But my first and primary concern is it going to minister to the family in a way that helps them to grieve well? that helps them to come together and find hope. That is my first concern. I want people to feel at home here, not like an unworthy visitor. Sometimes parents worry that their kids are too noisy at church or too busy at church. And as a parent myself, I know what it's like to have busy kids. I had one this morning sitting next to me in the children's sermon. And I know that feeling of maybe my kids aren't dressed enough or aren't good enough or they're too noisy or they're too distracting. But last week we had this really beautiful thing happen and it was spontaneous, but it was necessary. And we had Katerina share in serving communion with me. That's just the way it worked out to make it happen. It is my deepest desire that everyone feel at home in this place. That we see the potential in every single person, at every single age. That we all have something to offer and to give to this church. Jesus saw the potential in everyone. As we consider our Lent challenge, this idea of meeting someone new, what if we saw people the way Jesus saw people? What if we made it a point to be more like the sinners and tax collectors who followed and less like the Pharisees who judged? And how would our church be different if we did? What if we were the kind of church that embraced newness, that embraced change, that offered innovation? What if this place was the kind of place that people walked into and immediately felt at home? And what if we didn't stop there, but then we went out and we invited others to join us, just like Levi went and said, Jesus, come to my house. I'm going to follow you, but come to my house first because I got some friends for you to meet. What if we were that kind of church? The kind of church that doesn't give up on the non-church people. And those who have given up on church feel welcome within these doors and these walls. What if we refuse to be the shrunken sweater or the old wineskin? What if we refuse to keep rolling that boulder up a hill only to have it fall back down again because we know that we are working towards something greater? The word about the wineskin and the old garment were for the church people. That was a teaching for the people who were all ready. The invitation to follow Jesus was for the yet to be, for the tax collector. And those that he sat down and had dinner with, they were the sinners. This afternoon, I wonder how many of us will have lunch with people from within this room. And what would it look like? Instead of just having lunch with the people in this room, we had lunch with the people who skipped church today. That we made a point to say, I know you're not going to make it at 9:30, but what if we went to the tavern at noon? And then you shared whatever it is that you got out of church this morning, or next week, or the week after. What might that look like? What would it look like if you still went to the Saturday night party, but showed up on Sunday morning, but you brought someone with you? What might it look like if we weren't just welcoming, but inviting in everything that we did? You know, this is the 4th year of our Wednesday Lent speaker series. And many of you probably don't realize this, but when I started it 4 years ago, and I know you've done different kinds of Lent Bible studies, but there was a lot of intention behind starting this speaker series. One was to bring people in that would be interesting to hear from. But it was also to test our ability to handle change. Can we not just do soup, but can we stay and learn something? Can we add something to the program calendar? And not only up here, but can we add something downstairs? And guess what? We passed. We can do new things. Because now, 4 years in, it's kind of expected. It's what we do. We have soup, and then we have a speaker. But it doesn't end there, because then we go to the tables in the back, and so we tested our ability to change, but then we also tested our ability to talk about our faith with one another. So I bet you probably didn't know this. You didn't know that you were joining a Bible study when you came on Wednesday nights, but you did. And not only that, you're able to talk to each other about the things that are important to you and the things that have challenged you. And even more, around each table at the top of the page, there's usually an instruction on who should lead the conversation for that night. I'm not the one leading it, you are. So I've been intentional because we've passed the ability to accept change, and now I don't know if you know this, but you are really good at talking to each other about your faith and what matters. You're also really good at leading small groups. You're already doing it. You are already the new wineskin. You are already the new garment. I always like to say that I'm doing my job well if I'm working myself out of a job. Because it's not about me, it's about unleashing the potential in the people in these pews. That you might go out, that invite others to come in. In the simple addition of a program, you have already proven that you are Levi. That you know how to do this work of following Jesus and inviting new people in. Jesus saw the potential in everyone. And I want you to know I see the potential in you. And it is our job together to see the potential in the people around us. I'm going to invite you to respond with me. Our hymn of response is in your bulletin on the insert and will be on the screen. Please stand as we sing together in Christ alone.